Okay, hello. I think we're live. Yeah, cool. Welcome to History Chats this afternoon. We're back here for December. We're going to start out with some history of walking tours in just a couple minutes here. If you're joining us live, just kind of hang out. We're going to be here getting started at 12:30, so got about 5 minutes. And if you are watching this after the fact, feel free to skip ahead a couple minutes to get to the program. Don't need to sit through all of this if you don't want to, unless you're watching live, in which case, please stick around. Just make sure everything is cool. All right. So, I guess while we're waiting, let me tell you about some stuff. Oh, wait, actually, I forgot. I was going to... Okay, next best thing. Let's just go here. So yeah, if you're looking for something to do, we have a kind of big event coming up this weekend. Let's see here. Don't know how to, well, I'll just do this here. Hi. I was going to put an actual graphic, but then I forgot to load that in. That's all right. Holidays at the Houses is starting this Saturday. So we're being a little bit more broader with our celebration of winter holidays. So instead of just being Christmas at the Houses as we've done in the past, where we've got some other representation of some groups, but we still have it decorated. The Yawkey House has been decorated. We are in final touches, hopefully in the next day or two, to get everything looking ready for everybody. If you want to come and get a tour and learn about some holiday traditions in the winter, not just the same stuff that we've been doing. We're definitely branching out. So lots of fun events, all planned all day. You can find out more on our Facebook page. There's an event if you're on Facebook. Otherwise, if you want to check out our website, I think we have everything listed there too. Yeah, so that'll be this coming Saturday, December 4th, starting at 11 a.m. And it'll be going until about 4:30. Just go. Also, just want to thank our sponsors, as always. Yankee Bookstore has been sponsoring the programming this year, so big thanks to them. And, of course, to all of our members who have made it possible for us to do this. If you're not already a member of the Historical Society, well, you should become a member. It's a great opportunity to support local history and get a little bit back, such as a free ticket of the Yawkey House. If you want to get a tour, that's a great way to do that, and help sports programming like we do like this. So if you're interested, if you're not already a member and you want to become a member, again, our website has all that information. Otherwise, if you want to just come on in or give us a call, we can help you out with that as well. Okay. We went live a little bit earlier, so let me also, while we're talking about stuff coming up, next week we're going to be delving into. Well, actually, here let's do this one instead. This is our theme this month, and Gary might talk a little bit about this in his introduction, but I'll just give you kind of the whole thing here. The concept here is kind of the history of Marathon County and Historical Society and other historic events and programs over the years that have tried to, look at our history and explore it in interesting ways. So we're starting here with walking tours. Some of you remember Logjam, which we did back in the 80s and early 90s. Well, through the 90s, I think. Well, you'll hear all about that next week with Martina. She's going to be presenting the story of Logjam. And I know she put a lot of work and interviewed people, and it'll be a great telling of that. And then while we're going through the rest of the program, Eric Kanop is going to be talking about the good old days, is what he's calling it. It's the history of the early museum here, back when some of you remember Ed Schoenberger and his interesting take on history telling. So he's going to be kind of going through some of the fun, interesting ways that we try to get people interested in history back in the 60s and 70s. And then I'm going to be talking after that on December 23rd, before the Historical Society. So at what point did we decide, hey, we should start thinking about recording our history, and how did that lead to the creation of the Historical Society? So a lot of stuff in there. And then finally, just on December 30th, we're going to be doing just a brief thing with our events curator. Hopefully she'll be, pull everything together. She's a little frantic right now, getting everything ready for the big event this weekend, but I know she'll have everything ready to go and tell us about what to look for next year in 2022. So a lot of cool programming this December. Hopefully you can join us for these. But we're going to start with Gary Gisselman. Take my camera off here. Gary, who's going to be telling us about walking tours.
Thank you, Ben. Welcome this afternoon. I just want to begin by this series of history chats this month speaks to the Marathon County Historical Society and how it has been and continues to be engaged in the life of the city of Wausau and the county of Marathon. For 50 years, the Marathon County Historical Society has been involved with the showing off of history by telling the history of Marathon County and Wausau through the stories of notable buildings and homes. This was done by a variety of ways, which included walking tours, public programs, and documenting the significance of historic buildings and districts in Wausau and Marathon County. One of the first instances of this that we can trace was back in 1972, which was the 100th anniversary of the city of Wausau, a walking tour of historical homes in the city. And in the 1970s, in addition to the initiation of walking tours and whatever that we'll talk about, was also the beginning of the preservation movement in the city. So a lot of this highlighting of this, a lot of this showing off was to demonstrate the historical integrity, the historical significance, really, of a lot of the structures, homes, buildings within the city of Wausau. And one of the early times was this 1972 walking tour of historical homes in the city. If you would have taken that tour back in 1972, one of the houses, one of the structures that was raised was the Fowler Stone House, raised in 1976. So we see that there was a lot of preservationists going on at this time, but this was one of those houses that was not able to be saved. Let me back up a little bit. The next big event in our history was in 1976 with the centennial of the founding of the United States. So the Marathon County Historical Society in 1970 published this walking tour of Big Falls, historic Wausau, 1839 to 1976. And this tour, which we see a lot of common elements with continuing tours, we're starting on the lower right. We start at a familiar spot, of course, the intersection of 4th and McIndoe, homes to the Historical Society, and then it traces the history down 4th Street, down Scott Street, across the bridge, back to cover the depots, and a variety of other walking tours. This is perhaps one of the more extensive little booklets that we have that demonstrates the historical structures that we really wanted to highlight through this walking tour. But if this was a little bit of a 1976 ad for this tour featuring the Bellis Hotel, but of course that is no longer here. But again, the booklet features a lot of history, a lot of the buildings that have been lost to history through the years. And all history is about people. And when we talk about the Historical Society, when we talk about the people that were a part of this, one comes to, of course, very quickly to Mary Ann Norton, who was a librarian here at the Historical Society for many years. She was on the Historic Preservation Commission earlier in the 70s. She had a real knack for identifying and talking about historic structures in the city. So we give tribute to Marianne. She was here mostly in the 1970s. She was a great treasure with regard to documenting local houses. She had a fascination for rich histories, as this article says, with regard to the local houses in the city. And she navigated a lot of the walking tours, which also State Historical Society Award in the late in the 1980s with regard to her work with historic preservation in this city. A noted historian of this city, we cannot really give enough credit to Marianne's work here in the city. And one of the gigantic testaments to her work was the final report of the Intensive Historic Survey, City of Wausau, in 1984, with which Marianne was a principal historian and principal investigator for this. So it's many pages, close to 300 pages, documenting the structures, the buildings in this city, and it would guide the workings of the Wausau Historic Preservation Commission for many years, not only with individual houses, but also with districts that we would be planning for many years. In fact, just recently, the Highland Park Historic District. So a variety of, a lot of knowledge in this book put together through a great help of Marianne Norton. A little later on came a guide to Wausau's historic architecture. This was a result of that survey. So this was a little guide to the Wausau Historics, which we still have available here at the Historical Society. A guide, another walking guide, so to speak, but it was specifically as a result of the survey published a few years earlier. The city, this was written by Marianne Norton and Don Ockett. I just want to give tribute to Don Ockett again. One of the people throughout our history of the Historical Society was a true architectural historian of a lot of the structures of the city of Wausau. You'll see his name a lot with regard to the documentation of the historic buildings in the city. So whatever walking tour we have, this one is in 1988. Again, the same structures, a little bit more modern approach to a walking tour, but again, we have this walking tour of the Andrew Warren District. The Andrew Warren District is one of two historic districts on the National Register of Historic Places. The Historical Society is in the Andrew Warren District, and then to the east of us is the East Hill Historic District. Again, a little brochure still available for guiding us through the notable structures in this city. One of the other big things that the Historical Society did, Marianne Norton, and I'll talk about Mary Jane Heading in a few minutes, was the documenting of the structures and the districts for the National Register of Historic Places. This was the Andrew Warren Historic District. I don't want to go into the full extent of the nomination form itself, but these were written by, this one was written by Marianne Norton. Other ones with regard to the East Hill Historic District and a variety of other structures were also written by Mary Jane Heading. But this was a key part of the Historical Society's role locally with regard to National Register of Historic Places. Throughout the county, the Menster Building in Marathon City, the Desert Building, the Desert Library in Mosinee, and a variety of other buildings throughout Marathon County that are on the National Register were pretty much pretty much written by or aided by the Historical Society. A little bit later, the Andrew Warren Historic District tour took a new look with the walking tour of the Andrew Warren Historic District, sort of modern look at the district. This was done in cooperation with the Marathon County Historical Society and the Wausau Historic, at that time called the Landmark Commission, now called the Preservation Commission. Soon thereafter, the Historical Society published this Big Bull Falls Historic Downtown Wausau, a guide to historic downtown buildings, available here also at the Historical Society, written by Paul Svetlake, a volunteer here at the Historical Society when this was published. But then we come to Mary Jane Henning of the Marathon County Historical Society. When Mary Ann Norton left the city to move to Duluth, Mary Jane Henninger came as a librarian, first of all, and then as director of the Historical Society, and she gave a great voice to documenting, showing off historical structures in Wausau and the county of Marathon. She was quite noticed within the community. She had a lot of different roles within the community as librarian and as director, and one of those was what we continue to do today. We take the show on the road. Of course, this is an older picture of Mary Jane at some school with an old museum, a carousel projector. But at that time, we used a lot of slides in promoting architectural tours, in promoting the historical structures of the city. A key part of what we were doing here at the Historical Society, which we continue to do, taking the show, so to speak, on the road, showing off not only the history of Marathon County, but another part of that will be the historic structures, not only in Wausau, but throughout Marathon County. Again, when she was doing a historic house tour, this was in 1991, continuing, and then again, for information, contact Mary Jane here at the Historical Society for more information on this historic house tour of the Andrew Warren Historic District. The Andrew Warren Historic District does seem to gather a lot of information, gather a lot of interest. It is really one of the truly great historic places in the city of Wausau. Later on, the Mary Jane Henninger, Kathleen Jansen, Kathy Volkman now, and Don Ockett put together Wausau Beautiful, a guide to our historic architecture. Done a lot through the resources of the Marathon County Historical Society. Currently still available for purchase, a guide to not only downtown, the district, the Andrew Warren District or the East Hill Historic District, but it's a guide to pretty much the entire city of Wausau. So we continue to give our tours, and we continue to give our tours throughout the city. But another big part of what we do is highlight the Marathon County's agricultural heritage. And several years ago, in conjunction with the sesquicentennial of Wisconsin 105th anniversary of statehood, we published this Discover Marathon County's Agricultural Heritage. So it's hard to describe it as a walking tour, but we have driving tours. So this booklet describes some of the driving tours that you can take throughout Marathon County, covering some of the noted architecture, noted history of a variety of the different parts of Marathon County. No matter where you go in Marathon County, you're seeing a different type of history, you're seeing a different type of barn, you're seeing a different type of church, a variety of different things throughout Marathon County, truly varied whether you go north, south, east, or west, you're seeing a lot of variety in this county. And it begins by talking a lot about the barns and silos of Marathon County. Take a trip throughout any part of rural Marathon County, you're going to see a lot of variety of barns. The Three Bay Barns, the Pomeranian Barns up in the northwest part of Marathon County. Um, Again, a driving tour that we have available for people to see some of the truly history of Marathon County. It's a little bit beyond walking, but we do provide this driving tour. You may have noticed on some of the slides there mention what with one of the partners throughout the history of the Historical Society's work with historical structures and the history of those buildings. Friends of Wausau Historic Landmarks has always been there because whether you're talking Mary Ann Norton, Mary Jane Headinga, Don Alcott, all involved with both the Historical Society and the Friends of Wausau Historic Landmarks. And they, through the years, they have also published a variety and giving walking tours of a variety of different places throughout the community. One of a kind house tour, Friends of Wausau Historic Landmarks, going back this date back to 1989. So we continue. So I end with this. I think we continue to be a part of the community. We continue to do walking tours. We continue to document that history through national registration forms. We continue to do programs. We are on the road to do programs. That's one of the things that I think have been a strong highlight of the Historical Society was this role that we have with historic structures, the National Register, the City of Wausau's Register, a lot of history in this city and in this county, and the Historical Society has been always a big part of documenting and showing off that history that we have here in front of us. And continuing, this is another recent tour of the Andrew Warren Historic District just down the street on Grant Street. Continuing, these walking tours do continue. So with that, I end it, and I turn it back to Ben.
All right. Yeah, great. Who would have guessed we had such a rich history of walking tours? But yeah, that was cool. And as Gary said, a lot of these are available here if you're interested in getting. Well, I don't know if as we get into winter, maybe you want to, start if you get kind of pent up and you start planning for the spring. We have a lot of these available as well as other resources. I guess if anybody has any questions, as always, feel free to put those into the chat or comment sections if you want to do that. I don't see any at the moment. I guess one thing that I know that is part of our mission. Certainly the Friends of the Historic Landmarks Commission. That do a lot of this, as you said, are specifically Wausau. But we at least at the Historical Society try to get the rest of the county. Is there a lot of opportunities for like walking tours? Have we come across that recently, or in your coming in other cities?
It's mostly highlighting. I think of some, so we really try to make sure that we have an effort to highlight and show off for instance, the Desert Public Library in Mosinee, and if that's and I think we do that through our programming more so than we do, and the Minster and the Farm, and the Single House. A variety of places that are in the National Register. I think we do that mostly through programming as opposed to walking tours. But of course, we certainly are open to a walking tour of Marathon City. That would be kind of cool. So, that's always something that we try to plan for and eventually try to pull off.
Yeah, for sure. Dwayne Zamzo said, let's plan a walking tour for the PCVW. So, well, maybe there's a walking tour up in Berlin. Yeah, kind of cool. All right. Well, I think maybe we'll call it there. Thanks everybody for watching. Again, next week we'll be taking a look back at the Marathon County Historical Society's Log Jam program and events that we did in the past. So hope you join us for that again at 12:30 on Thursday. And in the meantime, I think also consider this weekend. If you're looking for something to do on Saturday, we do have a day long of events here at actually both houses. So if you're in Wausau and looking for something to do, highly recommend that. But anyway, I guess we'll have a wonderful afternoon to all of you who are watching, and we'll see you next time.